Recording. Hello and welcome everyone. Thanks very much for joining. I know that we're streaming live on my Facebook page and Twitter, LinkedIn. So please give us some likes and shares and comments. And I'm super excited. I feel very humble and grateful that one of our top educators on Go Live TV, Chance Gonnam, who is known as Sharpshooter, has agreed to do this interview to celebrate the start of my third year of Forex trading. Now I've got the stopwatch set for 45 minutes because in an hour's time Chance will be doing his psychology call, which is my favorite call of the week on channel 20. Thoroughly recommend it. I've got quite a few questions that have come in from team members. So first of all, Chance, can you just, for the few people in the whole globe that might not know of you, and Samantha, your lovely beautiful wife, please say hi from us all. Lots of people give me great feedback on her training and what a lovely communicator she is. So could you just tell us a little bit about yourself, who you are and where you come from?
100%. Yeah. So the easiest way to break down where I'm from, I always call it small town, middle of nowhere, Illinois. Simply just from the middle of the cornfields, the middle of the country, living out here in America. I know you know we're all across the globe here. So out here in the middle of the heartland of America, the Midwest, growing up, I never really saw a better future for myself. I always believed in myself. I always saw that I could do more. But in reality, I was just following a system. I went from going to high school to going to college because that's what my teachers told me to do. I went to college and I was going to college to learn how to be a farmer's assistant. So not a real good degree, not like a high paying degree. And I got to a point in my life where I was working as a fry cook, working the graveyard shift as a fry cook, and then I was going to school all day long, and I saw a future for my life I didn't like. I saw a future for my life that definitely didn't fulfill me. So I went to the internet, the only place I knew how to find a life that was better. And I'll tell you what, it was a journey. I went from literally going, trying all kinds of stuff. I blew a lot of money. I'll just leave it at that. Trying to figure out how are these people making money online. And then by the grace of God, I got connected to an amazing company and amazing people. And I got to get in at the start of what, now is turned into a really big company. I got started back learning how to trade Forex in 2015. And at that time, the company that we're with now is less than 1,000 people. So it's crazy to think like in the very beginning, I was lucky enough to get started and it was a journey, but long story short, the journey went good, thankfully. After a good amount of effort and time and energy, finally we broke through and we went from living at my parents' house to traveling the country. We lived in a new state every single month, hopping Airbnb to Airbnb. Then we became top educators on the platform. We moved out to Miami, lived in a penthouse on the ocean, lived that kind of lifestyle, and figured out it wasn't for us. And we realized we wanted a more laid back, calm lifestyle. Went out to Denver for a little bit, spent some time out in Denver, and now we're actually getting ready to head out to Missouri this weekend and go look for some new property out there to just a new area. So
I did wonder about that.
Yeah. So now we're in a position where, thankfully we can trade, we can use the internet. We have multiple streams of income. I'm a big proponent of not just one thing. I do a lot of different things on the internet, and I've put myself in a position where now we are location independent. That's what I love the most. I can go anywhere I want across the world. I can still make money and I can live my life. So, that's kind of a little background.
So a thought came to mind then about, are you still wearing the Gucci belt then?
No, I'm actually wearing sweatpants right now. So, I will. It is the only belt I wear. I spend $300 on it, so it better stick around for a long time. So I do definitely put use in the Gucci belt, but no, we don't care about that stuff no more.
No, Gary V doesn't care about that stuff, and he says he talks about the value of the struggle. And I know that you said yourself that you were written off, and that there were many people who didn't believe in you. Outside the company and maybe inside the company, although I know that you hold Mike Miles in great esteem for always believing in you. And it's wonderful, isn't it, when you spot that raw talent in someone and they've got something that they can unlock there because they have put the effort in to actually find the opportunity and get started. So as you say, they're already in the pros. People watching this, you're already in the pros because you've taken the leap. So with that value of the struggle, Gary Vee says that, you know, the worst thing that can happen to people is they just get so comfortable, and that even for us older folk, he said, will you just, you know, get on with it, because you've still got many years. We're so blessed, aren't we, with the health and the opportunity, most of us, to live long lives. So why do you think that the struggle is worth it? And is it a struggle to really learn to Forex trade, or can you just take signals and earn what you need and that's sufficient?
Yeah, so with the that's a loaded question. So I'll break it down. I'll go in reverse order with a lot of that stuff. And then if I forget anything, just remind me. But the big thing with like the signals and that kind of thing, if that's the way you want to trade, it's not going to be a career. Because if you think you can have a career by just waiting for somebody to tell you what to do, that's not really a career. You should go get a job, and then they'll pay you consistently instead of just waiting for people to send signals. Now, I do think signals are really good and helpful trade opportunities for people who, you know, need the help in the beginning. But let's talk about why people want signals to work. Is because Forex is hard. Forex is difficult, and it takes time and discipline to be a trader. I really don't think trading is hard. I think discipline is hard. I think if you look at the average person in America, which I was, or across the world, you know, across the world, most people are inherently lazy. I was super inherently lazy when it came to, I didn't understand I controlled my life. I didn't understand I could take myself to the next level. So, you know, I was lazy, I was complacent. And I think that's what most people have to do. It took me 6 months when I got started. The first 6 months were so rough because I didn't make the decision to switch my mindset from being an amateur, just a, you know, a college student who I was more worried about partying on the weekend than making $1. You know, I was more worried about blowing money than making it. And then over the course of 6 months, I did a ton of personal development. I changed my friend circle. You talk about the surrounding of the company that we are with, and especially the people who were with there in the very beginning. They were people that, the people that you guys know today, that the rest of everyone still knows today, that we stuck around, those people weren't like in a bad way at all throwing energy. It was always encouragement, and then always that try to level up. You know, they were always pushing to level up. So for 6 months, I kind of sat in like, you know, this growing phase. And then I kind of woke up one day and said, oh, I get why I'm not successful. And it was because I wasn't disciplined. It's because I didn't have the schedule. It's because I wasn't putting in the work that deserves success. So then when you go back to the first question of, what is Forex, like becoming a trader, and how is it? It is work, and it is a grind. It's something that I literally dedicated my life to because it was something that I knew could work for me. Now, today, I put in probably 1/50th of the time that I put in the very beginning. And that's what a lot of people don't see as well. A lot of people see traders in my position where it's like, oh, Chance, you say you trade 3 to 5 days or 3 to 5 hours a week. Like that's how I'm going to work. They don't see that I put 50, 60, 80 hours a week back, way back when it was just nonstop work. So, you know, the best advice for new traders that I have is make a disciplined decision to say, okay, I'm going to make this a priority. It doesn't have to be your life. You don't have, I always talk about 20 hours a week. If you can put 20 hours a week into Forex, you can start on that gradual climb. And then what you're doing in that time is you're learning and growing. The biggest thing for a lot of people is they think this is going to be like a video game that they win. This is a skill set that you get good at. I always talk about it as compared to shooting baskets. You know, anyone can go up and make a basket. Congratulations, you made a basket. But can you make it in a high pressure game with the clock running out? And every time you trade, when you're trading big money, it's like you're trading that last second shot, because there's always going to be pressure when you click that button. And when a lot of people aren't ready for that pressure, they'll never get past that level that they need to be. And it doesn't matter about the size of the account. It matters always about the mindset behind it of like, are you scared to lose that money? Because if you are, it's going to be a difficult challenge. That's where the mindset comes in.
The one thing that has always puzzled me is once you've put the grind in and you say you've got over that hump, and like today I had the most beautiful trade on GA, and it did exactly what I thought, right down the 90 pips. It was, and I just, that when you do that on a fast moving pair, and it's just a wonderful feeling.
Yeah, you feel like you're a guru. You're like, I can do anything. I can predict the future.
You know, it's amazing. But the one question I've never understood is why, after you've been through all that hump, so you've kind of got it down, why is it that less is more in Forex?
Yeah,
I don't understand it.
Yeah, I think it's because psychology kicks in at some point, and I feel like self-sabotage is a thing. Like, and that's a lot. I mean, for some people, I think there are some people I've seen some people who they can just break through it, and they're like the one in a million traders. I don't think I'm that trader. I'm not that trader. You know, for me personally, I prefer the less is more mentality. So what we're saying here essentially, guys, is in everything you do, like I think is sales. Sales is a super easy thing. Sales is a numbers game. The more phone calls you make, the more people you talk to, more money you make. You're going to close more deals. You do the same thing in Forex. Once you get the knowledge part down, if you go all in and just say like, I'm going to trade 8 hours a day, I'm going to take 50 trades a day, and I'm going to make the most money I possibly can, I can almost guarantee you're going to blow your account. And I think it's for some reason, we start looking at the trade setups differently. We start having biases to where the markets are going to go. And a lot of it, I think, is just mental overload. So, you know, those are just a few things that I think. But honestly, I just know from results on my end that every time I try to pick up the effort, I try to put in, you know, 2, 3, 4 more hours a day of trading, my results always go down. So for me,
Yeah,
I
I
figured out.
remember that bit when you said, hey guys, I'm going to do more New York sessions with you. I'm
Yeah.
going to be on 5 days a week. And about a week later, you went, no, I'm not doing that.
Right, right. I was just like, what just happened? And I talked to my mentor. He's like, yeah, that wasn't a good call. I was like, he's like, do what was working. And then if you want to scale up, maybe. And then I was just kind of like, I'm just going to stick with what's working, because it's so frustrating because you're doing more work and getting less results. So it's like, it's it makes you angry. So I just walked away from it, you know?
Yeah. And I know you've always said you don't have to love the Forex market. Treat it professionally, come to it as if it's a job. Totally get that. Now, some people get bored and they sort of want to tinker around and add on another indicator. And I had one of your team actually, who I helped because they come on the New York session.
Awesome.
And I'm doing a one-to-one with them tomorrow, by the way, is my thank you.
Nice. We appreciate that.
Yeah, that's fine. And I'm because it helps me, doesn't it? Analyzing other people's charts and discussing them. So I'm happy to do that. But I've never found it boring, and I'm not a B-type personality. You know, the person that always opens the factory gates, is always there 9 till 5, who you rely on. I'm more of the A-type personality, like, oh, I've done that, I'm a bit bored with that. But actually, I find the repetitive process of it hugely comforting and very enjoyable. That I don't really understand. And the other thing is, when you've got your muscle memory, like learning to drive or baking a cake or anything, when the neural pathways have been formed, that's the only process really. It's a sweeping statement that you have to go through. Now, I had 3 or 4 things happen in 1 week. As you know, I had an account size change. I had Facebook and Zoom change its algorithms. I changed trading platform from MetaTrader 4 to CTrader. And then my object box disappeared. As you know, on TradingView, they blooming well moved the thing. And it completely throws you off your game, doesn't it?
Yeah.
Oh my God, what happened there? And I was actually doing live trading with people. And I said, oh, I'm sorry, guys. I said, my mind's just gone blank.
Right.
So it is a lot of that building in of this subconscious. I understand now what you mean by most of trading is A, psychology, and B, subconscious. A good trader gets, and I thought for months, what does he mean by getting a feel for the charts? If you sit and look at a pair, and you can see it struggling along, like, and then it goes, and you think, oh, that's what he means by getting a feel for the charts. Yeah, it's.
And the thing with that, and that's where you aren't to the less is more stage yet at that point, because at that point you are 100% right. The more time you put on watching the charts, you feel it. And that's what people don't get. And like, I used to think I was a really good trader before I became an educator, because I got good at feeling the markets. And I would be able to feel the markets, call out trades, get trades, but my strategy wasn't duplicatable in the beginning, because it only worked for me because it was off my feelings, not off confirmations, not off concrete evidence of why the markets are going to move like we have today with everything we use. But you know, that was a learning experience for me, because I got so good at the feeling side because I spent all this time watching the markets, that literally by the time, I mean, like, I know you've seen the news strategy. Like, that news strategy only came about because me and Sam stared at it for so many times. We're like, it does it every time. We're just going to start taking trades off it. And then, you know, 70% of the time it just kept doing it. We're like, awesome, let's just keep doing it. So it's like that was one of those things we made up on the go because we spent so much time on the charts, you can see it. But then again, when you're trying to be an educator and you're like, yeah, you just got to feel it. Yeah, for 6 months, you're going to be sitting there scratching your head like, I don't know what he's talking about.
Yeah, well, you make it great fun, both of you. So I've got, I wanted to know, why did you decide on this particular strategy? Because I mean, I may be wrong here, but I don't think there's anyone else out of 100 educators that do this particular strategy with the pitchforks off the, a lot of us use the scanner. Obviously, Chris Terry developed it. It's at the heart of everything we do. I you know, just absolutely love the scanner. But can you explain why you decided on this strategy? What is appealing, how it came about?
Yeah, so I mean, essentially, I was struggling. Like I said, I was at that point where I was like looking for something because now I'm an educator. Now I'm doing good on trades. At the time, I was, you know, on the swipe trades platform and stuff too. And I was like, how do I duplicate this? How do I teach somebody? And I realized that I couldn't do it. So I went around searching for mentors, and I was lucky to find a mentor who taught me, like, he's like, yo, here's a duplicatable system. That was the first thing I was looking for, was duplication. And the only thing on my mind was like, how do I take a trader like me, who is a fry cook, who works a job, who's barely got any time, and lock them in and say, okay, within a week, your charts can look just like mine. Because that was the hardest part for me as an educator. I could not get, every time I got a screenshot, it looked completely different than what I drew up. So now with this strategy, I was able to get that duplication. And then with the duplication came more things, like, as you know, like a few things that I really like. I figured this out before I switched strategies, but I started to learn the smaller stop loss I use, the more money I make. Because most traders think a stop loss is just to, you know, minimize losses. But my mentor taught me that it was to, your stop loss is your profit regulator, because you're only going to make, for us, we risk 2%. You risk 2% in 10 pips. Well, then every 10 pips you make 2%. So when I started learning that kind of stuff, I knew I wanted a small stop loss, but I was using, you know, maybe 17, 15 pip stop losses. When I heard about a 10 pip stop loss, I lost my mind. I was like, I got to learn about this. And then on top of that, I saw the power of trading all the time. And it's so funny because we just had the conversation of like, you don't want to trade all the time, but I wanted a strategy that worked for everyone, because we had students that would be trading all times during the day from all different countries, from all different continents. So I wanted something that worked for everybody. So we, you know, with that, we started learning the strategy, we started getting it. And the guy who I was learning from, he had a totally different mindset on Forex than I had. So I merged the two. And then out of that, we kind of created our own, using some of our old stuff, some of our new stuff. But the reason, I mean, honestly, that's why I use it, is because it's duplicatable. But the reason why I don't think other people do is just because in trading, it's all about what you start with and what you start having success with. Not what you start with, but what you start having success with. And once you get successful, you don't want to switch. I was reluctant to switch. If I would not, this is a fact, I would not trade the strategy I trade today if I was not an educator. If I did not care about my students' results, I would have just stuck with the strategy I had because it worked for me. And I could have just said, yo, this is what I'm doing. Yeah. But I could not duplicate it. So, you know, that's the only reason I switched, or else I would have stuck with my strategy, even though I knew this one was better. I had people telling me for months that I needed to learn about pitchforks. I was like, I'm good. It's too much. I'm good. And I just put it off. So I think that's really the thing about it in trading. As you know, it's a feeling thing, that subconscious brain. If you got your subconscious programmed into seeing this exact trade, you don't want to add on a big old pitchfork to your charts and throw you off.
Yeah, sure. And there's several things that come to mind there. Firstly, you have to know what your trader psychology is in terms of swing trading or intraday or scalping. And I like your strategy because it's a hybrid. I have never in my life traded with 25, 30, 50 pip stop losses. I think I'd be physically sick. I just simply cannot on a live account. I can't cope with that.
Once you know the truth, you can never go back. Once you use 10 pip stop losses, you're like, man, I caught 50 pips and made no money. Like, I feel it. I know.
And I know you often talk about the big banks who trade Forex, and you know, this now has been democratized. It's now available to us. The commoditization of the tools, the opening up of the ability to trade Forex at home for the masses, when it used to be for the few, not the many, as you know, as you've said. So again, you've always been complimentary about the traders in the big banks, and you said there are some good traders, but inherently, because I didn't know this either, that most of them are not paid on commission. They're paid just simply to churn the money over, place the volume of trade. So they're working to these massive 200 odd pip stop losses. So that's another thing I love. I just love that idea of being like the cheeky little school kid that's nipping in round the back, just grabbing a bit that no one even notices, a few apples from someone else's yard sort of thing.
Yeah, exactly.
I find that really appealing, that we, they don't even notice the retail traders, and, you can make more, I mean, obviously disclaimer, because we're very compliant for company purposes, but you can, if you treat it as a job, once you're through the grind of learning, like learning to drive, you then can come respectfully to the market, focused, as you always say, intensive psychology, less is more, and get everything you need and more out of the market to make your life more than comfortable. So why is there such a barrier for people jumping in and saying, yes, I'll come and do it?
Two things. One, the fear of losing money. And that's a reality. You're going to lose money, guys. I lost money in Forex. I lost money before I made money. I'll be real. Like, I didn't come in here and I was a guru and I just, picked this up. I lost money along the way. And, every single week I'm losing money. Well, hopefully, every week we're making more than we lose, but you're still going to take loss. And I think people struggle with taking loss, whether it's, long-term loss or short-term loss. And we see it in trading every single day. You'll be a trader that's on a hot streak. You haven't lost a trade in 15 trades. You lose 2 straight trades and now you're in the gutter. Your brain goes down, you get feeling bad on yourself. And it's the having, as a trader, you have to deal with loss every single week. And that's something that most people are mentally not ready for and mentally aren't ready to go into. So now that you have to deal with loss every single week, and I think this is funny because going back to when you said you're that A personality where you normally get bored with stuff, think about that in Forex. The best part about it is you can't get bored because it's always changing. It's always adjusting. It's always a little different. And you're always going to keep taking losses. The thing I love about Forex is you're never going to be a 100% trader. You're never going to be 100% accurate. So it's always going to test you to make sure, can I be better? Can I get better? Can I get better? So now taking that into my second thought is if you're going to have to deal with loss every single day or every single week, it's going to be hard for somebody to get the ball rolling when they don't think there's a promise of perfection at the end, because there's not. Again, I told you, you're never going to be 100%. But if you get the math and the ratio in the right spot, you can be good, and you don't need to be 100%. That's why we use risk management. But it's one of those things where when people know that, like, it's a hard journey and it's not promised at the end, most people aren't going to go through the hard journey if it's promised at the end. So if it's a hard journey and it's not promised at the end, well, then on top of that, most people just don't even want to start the journey because it's like, I'll go try something else or I'll stay comfortable. You said in the beginning, most people want to just stay comfortable. They're not willing to get outside their comfort zone to change anything like that.
Yes. So thinking about the analogy of Steph Curry, who the #1 NBL basketball player, who, as you said, he takes 1,000 shots in practice, so he knows, like you said earlier on, he can get that basket right at the end in the last second in front of all that huge audience.
Yeah.
So if I translate that directly into new people and ordinary people like me, all walks of life who are on this journey, to over 200,000 of us, then how do you develop a stronger psychology? How do you toughen up so that, because I know I used to suffer. You take the shots.
You take the shots. At the end of the day, that's the best thing. You take the shots. The second thing is training, mentally preparing yourself, mentally growing, and you have to get your self-worth right. A lot of people, they use self-worth from other people. They get self-worth from other people's opinion on themselves, or they get their self-worth from their results. We just talked about results. Your results are always bad in the beginning. I've never seen a trader come in and just do good. Like, everyone's always bad in the beginning. So if your self-confidence is based off your results, well, then that's not going to work very good. If your results are down, you're going to be down on yourself. And then if you're already down on yourself, you're definitely not going to make that shot. You wouldn't even be on the court at the last second. So I think what people need to do is not only do we need to take the shots, but we need to mentally grow every single day. You know, it's something I believe in. I listen to personal development every single day. I'll read my books. I use scripture as a big thing to help me really, you know, connect and really go to that next level too. So I think it's one of those things where you need a way to grow yourself and your self-worth so that no matter what, like, you know, you can take, you know, for, you can lose X amount of money. You can, you know, have this many losses in a row. You can have anything, but you're so self-confident where you're like, I don't care. I'm going to get back on the horse. I'm going to do better tomorrow and I'm going to improve. And in the beginning, that's all you're going to have. Like for new traders, that's all you get, because the money's not going to come right away. So you have to have that self-worth to take yourself to that next level. And I think once you do, you know, that's normally when we see our traders hit that peak, because you don't care about the results. You don't care about the losses. You're like, I know my rules. I know my discipline. I'm going to keep showing up. And, you know, that's when I think traders have got it.
Yeah, I mean, I'm so not one for rules, and I actually love these rules. Again, it must be, you've suddenly got a light bulb going off in my head. It's because it's always so interesting. And I do like the macroeconomics as well. So, but as you know, about 2 or 3 weeks ago, I hit a rough patch, and it was because of these changes. That's what I decided it was anyway. And then I also made the rule, because I've heard you say it many times, you used to win it in London and give it back in New York. What have I been doing? Exactly the same often. So I looked at my statistics, because you can link it up to my FX book, and I thought, right, I'm absolutely just going to do my 2 great trades, stick to the rules, the 25 pips a day. I know that's working. And although I, as you know, do the live trading in the New York session, I will only take something perfect or nothing at all. What did I then go and do on my own? Did it again today, USD CAD. I'd actually told people there was news coming up. Number one, I forgot there was news, and I thought, oh, I'll just nip in there and do that. Then I realized news was coming up in 20 minutes. And worse still, I'd not, it defaults on CTrader to buy, and you have to press it over to sell, and I'd gone into a buy. So I sat here thinking, oh, you've gone and done it again. Why do you keep doing this? So anyway, I got out at just like 1 pip, you know, so it was fine. But it's, you know, you kind of think, what do you think you do? Why are you doing this to yourself?
Yeah, and it's the mental discipline that it takes not to do it, because I think and there is no, like, for normal people, there's no human nature in trading. Like, you're like, yo, there's no human nature in trading. But I would say for you, I'd be like, that's the human nature response. You know, that's like the trader in you just says, I need another. I need another. I need another. And then you go for that another, and it just slaps you. It's just like when you go for that last cookie, and then, you know, you look in the mirror, you're like, I didn't need that last cookie, but man, I wanted it.
I know. And if you are going to be tempted, do it on demo, but it's never so much fun on demo, is it?
No, it's never the same on demo. People just need to lose their own money to learn the lessons. That's the reality of it.
But it was your point about the money thing, because I did say to myself, stuck in this USD CAD thing, and again, I could see it struggling, and I thought, you know what's going to happen after news, and sure enough, it went up. So anyway, thank God I had got out. Well, actually, ironically, I would have been all right, wouldn't I? But I didn't want that stress, so I got out of it. But you sort of think, you know, you've just got to know when to call it a day, haven't you? And just make sure that you know you stick to that. We've got the last 15 minutes coming up, so I'd like to get on to some of the questions. And then just any final tips right at the end, final piece of advice, because I know there's many teammates, many people watching this, or some people sitting on the fence. Should they give it a try? So just taking them not in any particular order, from Kathy Walker. She's a great fan of your strategy. She works very hard, and she's making time to, you know, watch the recordings and send in charts to analyze and everything. Yeah, she's very good on the scanner. So one of my questions would be, how many hours per day, per week does he actually spend trading, brackets including analysis?
So including analysis, I'll be honest with you guys, I do almost all my analysis live with you.
I know
I probably put in, I might do an extra 30 minutes on my own if you break down maybe 5, like when I draw a pitchfork on my own, I can literally do it in 30 seconds. So like I might do another 30 minutes by myself throughout the week, and then trading by myself, maybe an extra 1 to 2 hours, maybe. And then it just depends. Like Wednesday went really good. I haven't touched the chart since. I haven't even looked at the chart since Wednesday London session.
Brilliant. A question from Sean Mapp. He does, oh no, it's not really a question, it's just an observation. So it's great. He's really thrilled to see you. He says
Awesome.
he's seen quite a lot of your stuff on YouTube. Yeah, he's a good trader. I remember watching him before joining, didn't realize he was in IM. Question from Robert Sugden, another top team member. He does a lot to help our new members. Is he ever tempted to take trades that don't quite follow his strategy if there are no actual confirmed trades or after he's lost the trade?
I used to. I don't do that anymore because like that's where the discipline comes in. Because yes, I get the question all the time, like, what if I have 3 confirmations and they're not a pitchfork, you know, or that like you have setups that are this or that. For me, I know the number, like Sarah said, she looked at her numbers and you could tell what's right and wrong.
Yeah.
It feels right. In the moment, it'll feel right, but in the numbers, it won't look right. And that's one of those things I had to learn. Like there's a lot of trades that are going to feel right, a lot of trades that are going to look good. A lot of time where in the moment, I'm going to be upset at myself because I didn't take that trade, but I'll look back and I'll be like, all right, I'm glad I didn't take it. It might have gone 15 pips in my favor, but if I didn't put a stop profit, it would have hit, you know, so there's definitely a lot of that.
I strongly recommend
it still happens.
Everyone links their account up to myfxbook.com, because when you look at that graph and your percentage comparisons, that keeps you to stick to your rules.
Yeah.
And you can see where the dips are, and you look back and you think, oh yeah, that was those 2. I shouldn't have taken, and I knew I shouldn't really.
Yeah.
Tony Lupino, great friend of mine. He says, question, how long has he been using this strategy and what does he mainly put his success down to?
I've been using it since almost 2 years now. I just shy of 2 years. I'm not sure the exact like when I started, but just shy of 2 years. And what do I put my success on? Honestly, it's what I've been told from my mentors is discipline. You know, at the end of the day, I don't give up. Once I put my mind on something, I just go all in and nothing's going to stop me. And then the next thing I would say, asking questions. You know, I was always humble in the way of like, I was never scared to ask a question. You know, I'd go right up to the top person or top this, or, you know, I became friends with Mike Miles, not because anyone introduced us, but because I reached out to him and was like, yo, bro, like, I need your help. Like, what am I missing? You know, and I was always the person to go find what I needed, even if, you know, I had to be the guy 3-4 messages later being like, come on, bro, just a 30-minute call with somebody. And, you know, I would just be that person that had to, you know, kind of go to that next level to make sure I got the information I needed, especially in the beginning. Whew, like you guys don't know what you have. You guys are literally in a Ferrari and we had like a little beater car. There was no education, no nothing. So it was a lot of that in the beginning, was determined to figure it out and then going and finding it if I didn't have it like at my fingertips.
Yeah, that's a great answer. I always thought at the beginning, I'm paying my subscription. I actually don't care if I look stupid. I'm paying. I'm going to ask questions.
Yeah.
But it did take me a long while to emerge from the darkness. So we do a Monday Q&A every Monday night. And okay, my excuse is I'm an hour ahead, so it's like 11 p.m. here, but it was on at like 9 or 10. I would literally be in there in the dark, and I was literally like peering out. And eventually, I could remember it so clearly. I emerged from the shadows. But then I thought, no, I'm paying. I am actually going to ask. I can't be the stupidest person in the world. And actually, I don't care if I am. I haven't got anything to lose. And that's what Gary Vee would say, wouldn't he? He'd say, look, get over yourself and get on with it, wouldn't he?
Yeah. Most of us have egos for no reason. And it's like the people who you're going to ask don't care. Like, that's what we do. I get asked questions every single day.
I know you do. Yeah. And everyone's got their own SHIT to deal with. They, you know, people, question from John McLaughlin, super guy, lovely geezer, done a lot for me. What was the one decision that took them, you and Sam, from beginner to having an unshakable belief that they would succeed?
I would love to say the vision board making, because that's like what I should cliche say. But honestly, it was after I blew my 3rd account, it was so bad. Like I had a $20 account I built up to a couple $1,000s. Long story short, I blew it all in a night. And that was more money than we had in our bank account. So at that point, it was the hardest night of my life from a business standpoint, literally like cried myself to sleep. And I was at the point where I was like, do I quit and give up with this, or is this really going to happen? And And, you know, me and Sam sat down, we had a long conversation. We agreed that, hey, we said this, and that's where the vision board did kind of come in. Cause, you know, you look at the vision board, you see what you said, you see why you're here, you see what you believe in. And then on the flip side, you know, we looked at each other and said, we have no other choice. What else, you know, for me is like, what else are you going to do? Are you going to go get a normal job and just and live this life? Or are you going to do something? So after that decision, though, after I blew that account, that's when I went to crystal clear following my rules. And that's when I became a pro. Pros follow their rules no matter what it feels like, no matter what it looks like, no matter what, like you follow your rules to a T. That's a professional. And then that's when we started climbing, because I already had the skill set, but I would just keep shooting myself in the foot by not following my rules.
Yeah. Oh gosh, that sounds familiar. I remember asking Michelangelo Martin once, who's, you know, one of the top guys, and I said, what switched? When did you start to be successful? He said the same. He said, when I started following my rules.
Yeah.
Simple
yeah,
as
because amateurs think that their instinct is better than the rules. And even me as a teacher, my instinct is not as good as the rules. I trust the rules over instinct every day.
And you've always said that, trust the process. And that was another key light bulb moment for me. Once I got out of my own way and thought, that can't be right. How come these lines and these magic numbers work? And once I realized that I could hand over, to a certain extent, my confidence in the power of holding the 62 EMA, in the power of quarter theory based on maths, in the power of the pitchfork based on Fibonacci, you know, or simply magic numbers at work,
right?
Then I was much safer, because it was like, okay, tick, tick, tick. Okay, I know 30% of you may fail, but I'm on the 70% here, and I'm following that compounding check sheet. Yep. And that was a big key moment for me, rather than, surely that little orange line can't work like that.
That was me for the longest time. I didn't trust anything.
Yeah, and it does work. So anyway, not how a beautiful, loved up young couple really wants to go to bed at night crying their hearts out because they've blown an account. That's a tough test in a young marriage. A tough test.
Yeah, and especially, when you're pulling the trigger, and it's, again, more money than we had in our bank account. So it was one of those things where it was just like, because for those of you who don't know, like, our goal was like, okay, we're going to have X amount in our account so we can live our life, and then we'll withdraw. And, you know, that was what we were always working for, even from the beginning. And yeah, it was such a massive setback. But again, I mean, would I still be here today? I don't know. You know, how would it have played out? It happened. And it's one of those things, as a trader, you got to live and let live. Like, it happened, and you got to wake up the next day ready to go, or it's not going to, and this ain't the life for you.
Well, I always liked what you said about, and everyone in the company says it, you know, only afford to risk, you know, risk capital, what you can afford. Sam said it the other night, only what you can afford to, you know, be without. Once it's in the broker's account, you've said that, once it's in the broker's account, it's actually the broker's money, and that's how you should view it. But the getting over the fear of loss, getting over the money thing, I'm kind of over that now, because I've been like punched around the ring quite a few times. And
I don't know how else to do it. That's the only way. You got to get in there and fight it.
It's fine, because demo ain't going to do it. So you've got to eventually, you know, get to the other side of that. Then it's all that ego thing and getting out of your own way. And surely those lines can't work. Oh, maybe I'll pile on another few lines. One trade I was looking at today actually was at the junction of two scans. So it's like in this Battenberg pitchfork of like that, you know. That's like, oh, chance always says don't get yourself confused. But you anyway, you kind of get, you know, you get through that and out the other side, don't you? But it is quite a journey. But in that USD CAD trade today, I said to myself, that's fine, that's okay. I can see what you've done. You are an idiot, but you're just going to have to get out of it as minimum as you possibly can. And I sat there saying to myself in a very positive way, this is a great learning lesson, Sarah, because eventually it is going to sink in, because you've been telling yourself for the last few months you're never going to do this, and you've just gone and done it again today because you couldn't resist doing it, could you? You know. So there we go. So Matthew Berry, last question, and then just any final tips. Was there any risk taken going from $20 accounts to being financially free in roughly 2 years?
Yeah, a lot of risk taken. And again, it was all out massive action. Like that was a real thing. And then also like the thing that a lot of people don't realize is like where we were living. You know, I was living at my parents' house. I had my only expense was a $320 car payment. So, you know, that's what I think a lot of people think, you know, all of our situations are different and we're all coming from a different starting point. And that's the thing. A lot of people look at the finishing point. You're like, well, Chance, how do I get to that finishing point? Well, my race was a lot different than your race because our starting points are different. So, you know, the big thing with that is if you understand like where we started, I mean, yeah, we made massive progress, but like, like we weren't balling out when we started traveling. It was like, okay, we had enough to pay for like 1 month here rent and then another month here rent and another month here rent. It wasn't like, you know, we didn't even have the money. If we had to put all the money down at once, we didn't have it at that point, you know? So it's like one of those things where we started out on our own journey. And that's the one thing, you know, kind of going into the last tips and everything of just saying like, if you decide to do this, I know there's some who are in here, so you already made the decision. For those of you who are on the edge, like if you make the decision to do this, don't do it half effort. You don't want to come in here and try. You don't want to come in here and test the waters. If you come in and you make a decision to join this, you need to choose to get to the finish line. And you can't care about where you start. You can't care about the race. You got to care about that finish line because the finish line is what keeps you going. And no matter what you're going through, whether it's the blown accounts, the frustrations, you know, I thought this was an amazing interview. I want to give it back to, you know, Sarah, this was great. This was, you know, one of those things where I like the perspective and the questions were on point. And it's just one of those things when you hear everything we talked about, all the ups and downs and everything, if you have a finish line that's worth going through the fight, you'll keep going. If you don't have a finish line, if your finish line is a Gucci belt, guys, that's why I was getting ready to quit even when I was at the top, is because like all I wanted was more materialistic things. And I'm sitting in a penthouse saying like, wait, all I'm going to do is run up this numbers game so I can buy this useless stuff. Like, you know, so I had to have that wake up moment for myself. Like, okay, why are you really here? And I could have made the decision 2 years ago to just drop out, leave Forex, give all this up and go after something else. Instead, I reset my focus on a why that kept me here. And that's something that you're going to have to do constantly through this journey, but especially in the beginning, make sure you have that concrete vision for your life. I talk about it so much, but it's because it's so important because I was living a life when I first got started that nobody around me saw me as successful. Nobody around me saw me more than that fry cook guy. And I was kind of being laughed at because I wasn't going to a good college or wasn't going for a good degree or wasn't doing this or wasn't doing that. Nobody saw me as a successful person. Nobody saw me that I'd be speaking on stages in front of thousands. Nobody saw me like it's insane to even think. I'm from such a small town. I spoke in front of more people at the last convention that I spoke at than they're in my hometown. So like there were more people in the crowd than in the entire town. And it's one of those things when you realize that you have those kind of potentials, nothing can hold you back, but it's opening up your mind because the person who I was when I started, I didn't see myself speaking in stages. I didn't see myself living this life. I had to be slowly woken up. And the best way to do it, instead of the slow wake-up call, give yourself a slap of reality, realize that you have the potential to do anything. And once you have that unlimited potential, start setting your sights on things that excite you and start setting your sights on things that will take you to that next level, not just keep you where you're at. Because if you're only looking at goals that keep you complacent, you're not dreaming big enough.
Well, and you know, phrase, isn't there, that most people actually die when they're 35. It's just physically they're still alive till they're 70. Yep. So why do you want to sit watch TV for an hour every evening when you can do this?
I mean, I would even argue in these days it happens at 16. It happens at 18 when you graduate high school. Some people maybe through college, but when you graduate college, like as soon as you hit the real world, so many people go into this zombie mode where they're like, well, I got to go to job and then I'll make just enough money so I can pay my bills. We can go on one vacation a year or one vacation every 3 years or whatever it is for your financial state. And they think they're stuck. And I think, you know, that's one thing where, you know, I'm a big fan of like the American dream. I'm a big fan of like, you know, the idea of you can go become your own person. And I think that the beautiful part about the internet and in Forex or anything, even if you're listening to this, you're like, Chance, that sounds hard. I don't want to do Forex. Well, go find something on the internet that can bring you a source of income so you can be your own person. Because I think a lot of people, we get in that state because we think this is all I have. This is all I am. But when you realize you can become an entrepreneur, when you realize you can become more, you realize there's so much more to live from. I literally got, I got goosebumps thinking about it, because I know that there's so many people listening right now across the world that you can make a massive impact if you just open your mind up and started thinking about it.
I love the way Gary Vee's still out doing the early morning garage sales, picking up his sports cards and everything
Yep.
else, and saying that, great, well, what's that? Oh, great, a Smurf, $20. I can sell that for 150. Here it is on eBay. I love that he's so grounded, and he says he's on a big mission with young people to actually get them to wake up. And he said the worst thing is either having parents that are too loving because they keep you just, they're propping you up, or that, as you say, they feel they've got to please their parents and be on a certain path to, keep them safe. Anyway, we've got the favorite call of the week live on Channel 20 Go Live, if you'll remember, with the wonderful Chance and Samantha Gonnam, who I'm so blessed to have found and who are great mentors. And I thank you so much for your time. I feel very humbled and privileged. And
thanks for having me.
I'll really cherish. I really appreciate it so much.
Thank you. Thank you so much for having me here. I was glad to be here. And again, just kudos to you. Amazing interview. And to everyone on, listening out there, I hope to see you guys on the other side. Hope to see you guys on the classrooms. And the last thing I want to end you guys with is just dream bigger. Dream bigger for yourself, dream bigger for those around you, and get to a position where you see your life being something that keeps you excited every single day. Because I know what it's like to dread waking up in the morning. I know what it's like to hate my life every single day when I wake up. And I'll tell you what, being in a position where I literally love every day and I'm excited to live life, I wouldn't trade it for the world. And I want you to experience the same thing.
God bless you, and say hi to Sam. And thank you very much.
Will do.